What would you do if you lost control of a part of yourself? Your legs stiffen and stop carrying you. Something unseen begins puppeting your limbs, and you begin to see or believe wild things that couldn't possibly be there or be true. It turns out some of the scariest things you can experience aren't in dark forests or creepy basements. They're in your own mind. Here are the 10 scariest mental disorders that exist today. Clinical lycanthropy. It's a common belief that a full moon brings something out of people. Campfire tales in movies tell us stories about those that fear the full moon, and none are more common than the terrifying werewolf. But while those stories are works of fiction, there are people who truly believe that they themselves are animals. Clinical lycanthropy is a psychological condition in which the individual believes that they can transform, recently did transform, or currently is a non-human animal. This mental illness is believed to be a form of psychosis and directly affects the individual's mental state and behavior. Often, the affected person retains memories of being the animal or will exhibit animal-like behaviors such as growling, howling, or even moving around on all fours like the creature that they believe themselves to be. And though many feel that their transformations are into a wolf, wolves aren't the only animals that have been described. Non-canine animals such as cats, birds, horses, frogs, and even bees exist. Paris syndrome. Named by Japanese psychiatrist Hiroaki Ota in the 1980s, Paris syndrome refers to the psychiatric symptoms suffered by certain visitors to the French capital. Symptoms include dizziness, a delusional belief that they're hated, or a victim of prejudice, and even hallucination. A truly debilitating condition, Paris syndrome has been most commonly seen in Japanese tourists visiting Paris, though it's also been found to affect people from South Korea and China. It's believed that this illness may exist because of the idealized version of Paris that exists in Japanese and other Asian cultures, possibly due to the media and advertising which draws tourists to Paris with certain expectations that the city cannot live up to. When people arrive believing that they'll find a dreamlike town with beautiful people who speak their language with a cute French accent and find something less, they experience a form of culture shock that can have them questioning not only their beliefs, but quite literally their own existence. Alice in Wonderland syndrome. While Alice in Wonderland, the story, is a beloved children's novel that has, incredibly, never been out of print since its release in 1865, Alice in Wonderland syndrome is much less lovable and much more disturbing. Also known as Todd syndrome or dysmetrosia, this psychological condition causes a person's perceptions to appear distorted. Objects can appear closer or much farther away than they actually are, as if the affected individual is growing or shrinking in size. They can also experience feelings of their physical self growing or shrinking, which, when accompanied by hallucinations, can be a truly frightening ordeal. The actual cause of Alice in Wonderland syndrome is still unknown, but it's been known to occur alongside migraines, head trauma, and viral encephalitis. And while it's been documented in both adults and youth, it's more common in children. Still, no matter how old, this is one rabbit hole you definitely don't want to go down. Kagra Delusion. What would you do if the person closest to you was replaced by someone or something else? Imagine trying to explain to others that this person who you know and love is actually an imposter and not have a single soul believe you. Well, that's what it's like for those unfortunate enough to suffer from Kagra Delusion. It's a condition in which the individual believes that one or more people around them is a duplicate and not truly themselves. Though it's believed that Kagra Delusion may be caused by brain damage, specifically to the frontal lobe, the scientific community can't agree on exactly why it occurs. Furthermore, there's actually no established way to effectively diagnose this ailment, as often the individual doesn't even know that they're ill. It's common that subjects are brought to get help by a family member or friend who's become concerned after hearing that they or someone else close to the person aren't really them. Dissociative identity disorder. More commonly known as multiple personality disorder or split personality disorder, DID is a condition that's seen both a fair amount of coverage in fictional media and a history of extreme controversy. This is a psychological condition in which the subject seemingly possesses two or more distinct personalities, often with no idea that the other personalities exist. Instead, they experience lost time or blackouts, requiring those around them to find out what they said and did during that time. While some experts feel DID is caused by extreme trauma or even multiple traumas experienced by the subject, others feel it's actually a result of therapeutic practices such as hypnosis, manipulating a malleable mind into splitting key characteristics of the individual into separate entities. Sadly, for someone with DID, the lost time or actions taken that weren't their own can become too much, as this condition often leads them to taking their own life. Body integrity dysphoria. When we encounter someone with a disability, many people feel sorry for them and hope that they never have to experience the world the way that they do. However, there are a rare few who feel quite the opposite. There are some people that have a psychological condition called body integrity dysphoria. This is a desire for some type of disability, either a sensory disability such as being blind or deaf, or a physical disability, which can include an intense need to become paralyzed or even amputate a limb. People with BID are in a constant state of discomfort, being able-bodied, and often act as if they're missing a limb or require a wheelchair when neither are actually true. Usually manifesting in younger individuals between 8 and 12 years old, body integrity dysphoria often leads to traumatic scars, severe disfigurement, or body modifications, and even tragically loss of a person's life. Depersonalization disorder. It's often said that you can never truly know someone, but what if that someone is yourself? When it comes to people with depersonalization disorder, this is a terrifying reality, as they frequently feel as if the world around them or they themselves aren't real. This disorder is a dissociative phenomenon in which a person experiences a disconnect from their own thoughts, feelings, or actions, and is often accompanied by a belief that they're looking at their own self from an outsider's perspective. Some have described the experience as seeing themselves through a glass wall. And if that isn't scary enough, this often leads to them questioning nearly everything about the world around them. Depersonalization can manifest as a temporary condition as a symptom of trauma, or a chronic condition that the sufferer may never rid themselves of. Sadly, there is no universally accepted treatment for this alarming condition, and some spend their entire lives not themselves. Autocannibalism. Hunger is a driving need in all of us, but for some, that need drives them to consume something truly disturbing, themselves. Often linked to depression or anxiety disorders, autocannibalism is a mental disorder in which the individual consumes flesh or other pieces of themselves. Less severe cases involve the consumption of things like scabs, boogers, hair, and nails, while more severe cases can include eating one's own limbs, such as a hand or foot or pieces of their own flesh. Some even practice auto-vampirism, which includes drinking their own blood. Autocannibalism can bring with it various symptoms including scarring, infection, nausea, or even nerve damage. While certain therapies and medications can help quell the urges to eat oneself, the trauma that can be left behind can be enough to take away anyone's appetite. Alien hand syndrome. Imagine what it would be like to completely lose control of part of yourself. You're just going about your life one minute, and the next your hand is no longer yours, as it moves around, grabbing things by itself or even turning violent. This is what it's like for those who suffer from the aptly named alien hand syndrome. Discovered in 1908, alien hand syndrome is a rare condition in which the individual's mind no longer has direct control over one's own hand. This limb still acts as a working hand, reaching, gripping, or even manipulating objects, but often the person it's attached to has no idea what they're doing until they're told or the hand does something noticeable. It's believed that this syndrome becomes present when the individual experiences brain damage which affects the frontal lobe or the corpus callosum area of the brain. Often caused by tumors, strokes, aneurysms, or other neurological ailments, this damage disrupts movement and control. However, there are some other cases in which the exact cause of AHS is unknown. Kagra Delusion. For hundreds of years, zombies have frightened people around the world, and it's easy to see why. One bite and you're doomed to be the walking undead. And while this notion is normally seen as a work of fiction, there's a truly unsettling psychological condition that brings the terrifying fiction to life. Also known as Kagra syndrome, this extremely rare disorder results in the individual believing that they are dead, don't exist, or have lost their blood or internal organs, or are even in a state of decay. Discovered in 1880 by French neurologist and psychiatrist Jules Caudard, who described it as a delirium of negation, this illness presents with varying severity and is even capable of making the person suffering from it believe that they are undead or even immortal. Certain medications have proven successful in treating this disorder. However, the condition often brings the subject to commit acts of self-harm or even unalive themselves. But that's all for this time. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like, leave a comment, and even share it. All of those things help me out tremendously in the algorithm. And of course, if you'd like to see me go live anytime, I'm live on Twitch almost every single day. Link is in the description. And other than that, I will see you guys in the next video.